One mic.
All I need is one mic.
What's the name of the show?
One mic with Big Mike.
You know, ain't nobody getting hurt, ain't nobody, there's no crime being committed.
And they say his style is too urban for the radio.
This is real life stuff that's happened to me.
Well, you know what?
You, and you.
One mic with Big Mike.
I like to be able to do what I want to do.
A sports talk show, but no subject matter is off limits.
Meek Mill's concert is not called the Hell Yeah I Bang Khloe Kardashian concert.
And now, your host.
Put your hands together for the one, the only
Big Mike.
All I need is one mic.
Damn right. We made it. It's Friday. Thank you guys for joining me here on the One Mic with Big Mike show. Another Friday edition. It's going to be a localized episode of One Mic with Big Mike, pretty much. You know what I mean? We got to talk about these Atlanta Hawks. I got to talk to my people, man, my people here in the city of ATL. So if you're not listening here, you're listening. I found out the other day, actually, that people are listening abroad, like Europe and Asia. Very few, but, they're listening. And I appreciate each and every last one of you, everyone who tunes into the show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or the Monday and Wednesday and Fridays that I decide to show up. I didn't do a show this Wednesday. That's what I'm referring to. But usually Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, starting at 7 o'clock, you guys can go to my website, onemicwithbigmike.com. That is the number one, MICWITHBIGMIKE.com, to check out the show live at 7 o'clock Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or go on over to Spreaker. That's where I'm broadcasting live at Spreaker.com. That's SPREAKER.com. You guys can sign up for your free Spreaker account, just like signing up for any other, social media vehicle or whatnot. And then follow my show, get my followers up. Same thing, One Mic with Big Mike on Spreaker. I'm also on iTunes, the TuneIn app when I'm not doing the show live. The shows are archived on my website. They're archived on Spreaker as well. So I'm trying to definitely be everywhere that you are at all times, man. As far as contacting me, two ways to do that. During the show, hop on the website. Like I said before, go down to the Listen Live area on the main page. You'll see a little thought bubble dancing around there on the streaming player. Click on that, and it'll take you to my live interactive chat room where you guys can share your thoughts with me. You can tell me how much of an idiot I am. You can tell someone else in the chat room how much of an idiot I am. Anything you want to do is pretty much, a free-flowing type of situation. Or if you're just listening to the podcast and you want to say something to me, you can email me, Mike at onemicwithbigmike.com, or you can go and tweet me. Same thing, onemicwithbigmike.com. If you want to send me something stupid on Instagram, same thing. Or you want to check out the Facebook page and like my Facebook page. It's ONEMICWITHBIGMIKE. Now, other than talking about the Atlanta Hawks today, who they're about to take on, as I'm doing the show, they're taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers in game number 3. They're back home at Phillips Arena. I don't know why people still say the highlight factor. Ain't no damn highlights going on down there. Ain't nobody dunking and all that kind of stuff. It's fundamental basketball going on down there. But at Phillips Arena tonight, after taking an ass whooping, like the ass whoopings of all ass whoopings took place a couple nights ago in Cleveland. So we got to definitely talk about that. Also, at the bottom of the hour, the 30-minute mark, we'll do our daily feature on this day where we take a look back into the annals of sports and give you guys some historical tidbits and factoids that occurred on this particular day. And I want to pose a question. As we're talking about the Atlanta Hawks, something that I thought about the other day, and I kind of put it out there on Facebook, and it got some traction, though. And I was just sitting here wondering one day, why is no one, even though it's early, we're 55 days away from Kevin Durant becoming a free agent, officially, but no one's linking him to the Atlanta Hawks. And before we even, full disclosure, this is not a homer type thing. I don't consider myself an Atlanta Atlanta Hawks fan, or Falcons fan, or Braves fan, but it's my hometown, and I do support the teams from here, so it's not one of those like everybody wants Kevin Durant to go to their team. Yeah, but I'm going to try to make a compelling argument as to why it makes sense and why I don't understand how it's not being talked about and so many other teams are. So I want to also talk about some new developments, yes, still new developments in the Penn State child sex molestation case with Jerry Sandusky a couple of years ago. Some new information came out today, and in the final final segment of the show, now that it's getting warmer outside, the weather's about to break. It was pretty cold yesterday, but the weather's about to break. It's breaking, and we're coming up on Memorial Day. People start cooking out and all those type of things. I got some rules for the white people, the people of the white delegation, and if you know people, if you have friends within the white delegation, these rules are something that you need to share with your white friends before they show up at your cookout or before you invite them to a cookout. Let them know the rules before they get there. All right, starting first. Let's start with a couple nights ago. The Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks, you know what? I just thought about, I don't even know what the final score was because it got so bad so early. By the time, I don't know, somewhere around the third quarter, I was watching a DVR'd episode of Survivor, and then I was watching Underground after that. I mean, it gotten that bad. At one point, the Cleveland Cavaliers were up by 40 points. And if you listen to the show enough, you understand that I have a very I'm very adverse to watching bad sports. I don't care who it is. If it's bad, I'm out. There's too many other things for me to spend my time on than watching the Atlanta Hawks get it pushed in when that's the only game on my television, the only game that that I can watch that's available to me. So I didn't watch the end of it, so I don't know what the final score was. I think it was like 123-98. Somebody can fact check that, but I kind of remember seeing that later on after the fact. Now the problem came in the problem for the Hawks came in the way that the Cleveland Cavaliers shot the basketball. 25, a record-setting 25 three-pointers out of 45 attempts. You can't do nothing with that. You can't do it. With my math, I think that's something like 60% from three. No one shoots that ever. And when you get caught in the midst of that, it's good night. It's good night, Irene. I had some. I actually saw an article that kind of had graphs of how the Cleveland Cavaliers shot the ball night before last, and people. The funny thing about fandom, people get really into their emotions when it comes to things, and other people don't allow them to see things through clear lenses. You know what I mean? It was an ass kicking. that goes without saying. But the way it happened, you know what I mean? Just the way it went down, it was an aberration. First of all, this Cleveland team shoots a lot of threes. But like I said, no one shoots threes at that rate. J.R. Smith is the quintessential all or nothing basketball player. You know what I mean? He'll give you he set a record against the Hawks last year for threes and a half. He'll do that, and then like I said, they're about to play here in just a second. He'll come back tonight and shoot 1 for 12. You know what I mean? And that's basically what J.R. Smith is. And LeBron's saying he's the only dude that has the ultra green light. You need more people, B. No, no one believes that. This dude's named Kyrie Irving on that team, a three-point champion, also an NBA All-Star MVP. Yeah, I don't think he's the only one, if he has it at all, the ultra green light. Speaking of J.R. Smith, in the playoffs so far is 28 for 53. He's shooting 52.8%. Kyrie Irving, the aforementioned, is 23 of 44. Kevin Love is 15 of 36. Even LeBron James. I mean, it's not good, but he was hitting them on Wednesday. He's 10 for 29. They're making 16.2 3-pointers a game. That's out. That's absurd. Now, if you're an Atlanta Hawks fan, the one thing I think you can rest on or hope for is that they fell in love with that shot in game 2. And then they come out tonight and think that they're going to pick up right where they left off. My strategy going in, like Coach Mike, my strategy would have been to make LeBron a scorer. Like, make him. Then I think they did that a little bit. Had Paul Millsap sagging way off of him and allowing him to shoot the jump shot. The problem was that even because he's LeBron James, he can still get into the lane. And I think once that started happening, the defense started compromising itself, and then he was able to kick out for these dudes are talking about how open they were shooting these threes. And then once you get a couple of open ones, especially with a dude like J.R. Smith, he just started doing like ignorant stuff, like going behind the back and broken plays, and like stuff like that starts happening, and then it's like an avalanche. It just consumes you, and that's what happened to the Hawks. Now after that, it's kind of where the problem arose, the bigger problem arose, where the Hawks apparently can't just take an ass whooping, like lick your wounds and come back. They had a lot to say about how the Cavs handled it. I actually have the quotes here somewhere, how the Cavs handled it and how it was unprofessional and all this kind of stuff. Paul Millsap says, quote, "It's a certain way of being professional. I'm not mad about it," which normally means you're mad, but continuing the quote, but being professionals, man, if that's how you want to approach it, that's how you approach it. I think our team and our organization has class, and I don't think we would have continued to do that. But other organizations do other things, so what can you do about it? End quote. What he's talking about is the fact that they continue to shoot threes. Once the record of 25 came into view, they kept shooting the threes, and eventually got the record. Al Horford says in a quote, "We probably wouldn't do anything like this. It's hard to say, but I would say no," end quote. Well, the other day I'm looking at one of those ESPN shows, and somebody pointed out the fact that, yeah, the Hawks have done that. The Hawks have been up on teams like the Lakers in the fourth quarter, like by 20-something points, and continue to shoot threes, shot 11 threes in that fourth quarter. It just, like, to reiterate, I'm not someone who considers himself to be a Hawks fan, but I take pride in my city, and that gives the city, like, nationally, it gives it a bad look for all the people who complain and are always, in their feelings about the way people outside of the city perceive the fans here and the sports scene here. Like, stuff like that don't make it any better, man. It's a bad look when you cry about just taking a good old-fashioned ass whooping. And here's the thing. This is not a one-off. Like somebody said the other day on Facebook, like, yeah, but it's the Lakers. When I brought up the point about the Lakers, but it's the Lakers. Yeah, but that's different because that's a one-off. This is a series. So when we're talking about a series, if I'm the Cavs, I'm trying to kill you in the next two games with this game. You feel me? I'm trying to make you feel. If I'm the Cavs and LeBron and them, I'm trying to make the Hawks feel like they're down 12, getting off the bus, but before tip-off. Like, keep that bad taste in your mouth of what we did last game, and come into the next game pressing a little bit. So I don't see the point in what Al and Paul Millsap had to say. I didn't even see the point in it. While your man. Like, talk about your man, like, Bazemore's on the bench during the ass kicking. He slept through it, like a child. You know how you come, the teacher done called your mom at work, so you try to come home and just just go to sleep like she ain't gonna wake you up out your sleep with that ass whooping. Yeah, same thing. So when Kent Bazemore woke up, the ass whooping was still happening, which, again, it's just a bad look, man. And on the positive side, for the Hawks, it is just one game. Whether you lose by 50 or you lose at the buzzer, it's one game. The fact of the matter is, I said this on Monday, I just don't think the Hawks match up well. I think this team is just head and shoulders, especially when they're on. I don't mean on like they were on Wednesday. Like I said, that's unprecedented. But just when they're on, a normal team being on, them at their best and the Hawks at their best, I still think they beat the Hawks in 5 games. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what toll that last game is going to have on the Hawks during this game, which is actually, like I said, it's actually going on right now as I'm doing the show. And I'm looking at it a little bit, but I'm trying not to pay attention that much. But the way the Cavaliers are playing right now against this Atlanta Hawks team, they're in deep doo-doo. You know what I mean? And the season is probably going to end during this series, unless something catastrophic happens. LeBron gets hurt or something like that. I think it's gonna end in this series. Now, with that being said, now you have to look forward to next year. Or I asked this question on Facebook before the show. As an Atlanta Hawks fan, are you content with your team being what it is? Because this team is a good team, but it's not ever going to be confused. Even last year, no one's going to ever confuse this team with an upper echelon team. And mainly, in my opinion, it's because they don't have that quote-unquote guy. Look around the league. Look at all these other teams that are in the playoffs. You got the Portland squad, of course, Damian Lillard. They got the breakout player, or the most improved player of the year in McCollum. You got, of course, the Spurs with Kawhi and LaMarcus Aldridge. The Golden State Warriors, goes without saying, Steph and Draymond and Clay. The Cavs with LeBron. Even Lowry and this kid, DeRozan, been playing like doo-doo in the playoffs. You know what I mean? They've been playing like doo-doo. But inevitably, we saw it last night during that Toronto game. When it came down, nut-cutting time, the dude that's shooting 30% gave it to him. You know what I mean? He gave it to him and allowed that game. Defensively, DeMar Carroll blew the assignment on Goran Dragic, but whatever. They ended up going into overtime because of 2 3-pointers, one by Wade and the other one by Dragic. But when they needed buckets, Kyle Lowry gave it to him. And then, of course, down in Miami, you got Dwayne Wade. I think Hassan Whiteside, when he got his head on straight, he's a premier big defensively. You know what I mean? I hear now he's complaining about his touches. He's doing that Dwight Howard situation. Dead it. Dead it. You know what I mean? And then Joe Johnson. You know, a guy who here in Atlanta, we know Joe Johnson, but for whatever reason, Joe was treated like a bum because he got a big paycheck. Now, Joe can ball. If Joe can't do nothing else, he'll get buckets for you. And now he's in Miami doing just that. He has a defined role on that team, and that role is getting buckets. You know, he went off a little bit in the third quarter yesterday, but didn't really get it back going once he went out of the game and came back in the game. Real quick, shout out to my guy Matt joining me in the chat room right now. Matt loves to talk about Atlanta sports. He's a big Atlanta sports fan, so it's perfect that he's there. You guys can join the chat room as well by going to the website, onemic.com. The number 1, MICWITHBIGMIKE.com. Go to the bottom. You see the listen live area. There'll be a little thought bubble dancing around on the streaming player. Just click on that thought bubble. You'll be inside the chat room, too, as I talk about these NBA playoffs. In particular, my home team, Atlanta Hawks. Now, as I mentioned, not having that guy. This summer, summer 2016, what that boy say, all summer 16? Yeah, Kevin Durant in 55 days will become a free agent. And it's so weird to me that nationally, and I know the Hawks don't really move the meter, but just as a sports analyst, I really feel like the Hawks should be in that conversation when it comes to Kevin Durant. And I'll tell you guys why. And I think I can make a very compelling argument. And it doesn't come from a place, again, of, heart over head. He's a Hawks fan. I'm not. You know what I mean? They're the team that plays in my home city. So, yeah, I support and I like when they do well, but it don't crush me when they don't. Like, this team is probably going to get swept. You know what I mean? Maybe they get one at home during this Eastern Conference semifinals. That's the reality of it. Now, back to the Kevin Durant situation. Teams like, of course, the situation with him going back to OKC seems to be somewhat of a reality. You know what I mean? He has the media there under his thumb. He still got this man Westbrook there. People are talking about him maybe doing a 2-year deal. And, with the LeBron James opt-out after one type deal, so he can kind of align with Westbrook and maybe move as a package in a couple of years. Then a lot of chatter had been made earlier about him going to Golden State, which, now I talked to my guy Gerald Brown about this a few weeks ago from the Bottom Line Sports Show on XM Radio. And he made the point that I agree with. It's like you go there and you become a cog in the machine. You know what I mean? Because it's already set up to where obviously Steph is the dude. But as I mentioned to you guys like 2 weeks ago now probably, as soon as he hurt that knee, I told y'all what was going to happen. Like, we were going to see real basketball players play basketball. Clay and Draymond, those boys, and Sean Livingston, and it's happening exactly like I knew it was. Now, it's like just reinsert the two-time MVP. I'm giving him the MVP this year. The two-time MVP, and it's going to be murderer's row for somebody, man. Like, if it's the Spurs, then the Cavs, good luck. Good luck, you know what I mean? That's all you need, and I'll talk about this here a little bit later. Steph just needs he's going to need a couple of tune-up games. You know what I mean? He's not going to play in Game 3, but if I'm Steve Kerr, yeah, he plays in Game 4. You know what I mean? Win or lose against Portland tonight, or tomorrow. He plays in Game 4. But getting back to the Kevin Durant thing, right here on the One Mic with Big Mike show. The Lakers, because they're going to have a lot of money this year. They got a brand new coach in Luke Walton. He understands that Golden State system. He's going to need shooters. You know, we're not sure about D'Angelo Russell, Jordan Clarkson, the other kid from Kentucky, Julius Randle. We're not really sure about them, and we know one thing, that they're not the same type of shooters that the Golden State Warriors are. Here's one thing I'll bring up though, and I heard Greg Anthony say this. Greg Anthony is one of the best. That's why I'm glad he kind of got from up under that prostitution thing, that solicitation thing, and got his gig back, because he's one of the talented ones. He's one of the dudes that you listen to, and you know he'll drop some nuggets on you. He talked about him coming into the league and coming out of UNLV, you know, the lefty not being that much of a shooter, and he brought a good point up, and I can't remember where he said it at. It may have been like Colin Cowherd or Dan Patrick, one of those type shows. He said the one thing that you're going to do in the NBA is become a better shooter, because that's all you're going to do. That's all you're going to shoot, and that's your job now. You're going to shoot. So you'll become a better shooter. And I think about D'Angelo Russell and dudes like that. You put them in the right system, and they become shooters more. So maybe, you know. Now, the other team that just popped up today that people start talking about is the Spurs. And I want to stop there, because this is where now I make my argument for the Atlanta Hawks. I'm not understanding like why these dudes, well, not these dudes, but if I'm Kevin Durant, I think I'm trying to find the best situation in the Eastern Conference, so I don't spend 82 games just cannibalizing each other. You know what I mean? I'm trying to do what LeBron does. LeBron last year took 2 weeks off or something like that, just to chill. And just came back and was like, all right, I'm good now, and went to the finals. You feel me? With a bum squad. Let's keep it real with Delly and them boys, because Kyrie got hurt in the finals, first game of the finals. Kevin Love got hurt in the first series against Boston. He got to the finals with a bunch of bums. So imagine this now. Kevin Durant, has made some comments, see if I can find them here, about the Spurs in the past, right? And, of course, you know, you get people on the record, and they're able to, you know, you're able to now, like I'm doing, bring it back up later. He says, quote, this is per Buck Harvey of the San Antonio Express News, quote, having a very good coach is probably the most important thing in the league. You can have all the great players you want, but you have to have somebody to orchestrate it. That's what they have, speaking about the Spurs. They have great players, but they also have a great coach to put them in position to utilize all their strength as individuals and make it come together as a team. He goes on to say in a quote, San Antonio has rebuilt its dynasty, but rival executive believes, I'm sorry, this is not Kevin Durant anymore. This is Chris Mannix. I'm sorry. Chris Mannix is saying that San Antonio has rebuilt its dynasty, but rival executives believe the Spurs will explore ways of adding Durant to the mix, and the franchise's culture makes it intriguing, end quote. There's also a quote from Zach Lowe of ESPN. He says, quote, the Spurs' buzz about Durant is ascended in a way that is eerily similar to what happened last January at the D-League Showcase, when a half dozen unconnected teams executives warned me over the span of a few days that LaMarcus Aldridge would bolt from Portland for San Antonio. Now, if you guys remember last season or last offseason, that move of LaMarcus Aldridge to San Antonio was like, wait, what? What, they still have Tim Duncan? Pfft. Yeah, Tim was cool. You know what I mean? Tim was cool with it. So the smoke that you're seeing, I can only believe that there's some fire there. But when Kevin Durant talks about having a good coach, I think Coach Budenholzer is a good coach. And then look, he's from a dude who spent 17 years on the bench beside Popovich. I'm gonna assume, you know what I mean, that he got something. And from time to time, we see remnants of Spurs basketball here in the city of Atlanta. You know, when it's on, it's on. Now, I think the talent level is different. I know it's different. Like, there is no Finals MVP, no back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year here. I think LaMarcus Aldridge is better than Paul Millsap, but I like Paul Millsap's game. You got Al Horford. Now, in this scenario that I'm bringing up, I think Al Horford's not here in this scenario. I think the guys that you're talking about with the Kevin Durant coming to Atlanta is going to be Jeff Teague, the main guys, Jeff Teague, Paul Millsap, and Kevin Durant. But when you start talking about a system, it's here. And we've found out over the last 2 seasons that it works. Like, when it works well. There's a missing piece, though. And that missing piece is, quote unquote, I'm doing the bunny ears here, quote unquote, that dude. And there is no more of a dude right now that's going to become a free agent next year than Kevin Durant. And I think the conversation definitely needs to be had. And again, it's still early. Matt's in the chat room. Bye, Al. Yeah, because here's why I say that. I don't want to just throw that out there like I'm just like some sort of, Nostra Negrodamus or something. No, I'm saying that about Al Horford because the Boston Celtics were trying to put together a package, if you guys remember, during the trade deadline or before the trade deadline to get Al Horford. And I think Bud and the boys at Phillips wanted way too much for Al. So the Celtics was like, all right, cool. Don't worry about it. We'll keep all of our young pieces and our draft picks. And then when the offseason come and this salary cap go from 70, whatever it is, to 90-something, yeah, we just throw a bunch of money at him. Here's the thing that people don't understand what's going to happen this offseason. I read this somewhere, and it made so much sense to me. Al Horford, this offseason, may become the third highest paid player in the league. It may be LeBron, because of course he's going to opt out to get this money, KD, and then Al Horford. Problem with that is, if you're not here in Atlanta, you may say, so what? Here's why it's a problem. Because Al Horford plays in Atlanta, and when you get money in Atlanta, yeah. If you get money in Atlanta and you're not LeBron, or you're not, Kobe, you're not KD, it becomes a problem. I call it Joe Johnsoning. People will blame you for doing what 99.9999999% of rational human beings would do. They'll blame Al Horford. Man, look at Al. Man, that dude making, it's probably going to be somewhere around $25 million. He making $25 million a year. He out there shooting 3-pointers. Yeah, it's going to get real. So I anticipate him finding another home, and I think that home would be Boston. I think Boston has a situation up there with Brad Stevenson where they need some veteran leadership, a dude that can work the post better than Jared Sullinger and some of those boys. And they wanted Al Horford. I'm going to take a quick break here, and I'm going to come back, and I'm going to finish my thoughts. I'm going to finish this conversation up about Kevin Durant, because I really think it's one worth having, and I have a few more points I want to get to try to, make this compelling argument of Kevin Durant wearing a Hawks uniform next season, and possibly being that piece that puts gets the Hawks from being a good team to a viable contender in the Eastern Conference, a team that when the season starts, people can say, you know what, yeah, I can see an Eastern Conference with the Hawks and the Cavs, and the Hawks actually winning it. It's the One Mic with Big Mike show, the Friday edition, man. End of the week, man. Appreciate you guys for joining me. I'm going to take a quick break here and come back to finish this conversation. Don't forget, I'm broadcasting every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 o'clock via Spreaker.com. So make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend. And go to my website, onemicwithbigmike.com. You can also listen live there and join the live interactive chat room. Just look for the streaming player at the bottom of the home screen, and click on that little thought bubble you see dancing around there. Click on that. You'll be in the live interactive chat room, and you can join this conversation I'm having about the Atlanta Hawks. Possibly, or not even possibly. I don't say it like that. But having a conversation about getting a guy like Kevin Durant here to play his basketball in Phillips Arena.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzzed driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You could kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, "I'm a catch," more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Friday edition of the One Mic with Big Mike show. Heard right here on Spreaker.com. That's SPREAKER.com, and the app for all your mobile devices. If you don't get a chance to sit down and hear the whole 2 hours of the show, because I know it's long and many people don't have a lot of time to sit down, plus the game is on right now, you guys can also go to Spreaker. Every episode I've ever done back to November has been archived there. Or you can go to TuneIn, or you can go to the iTunes app, or, as I would prefer, go to the website, onemic.com. That is the number one, MICWITHBIGMIKE.com. Go to the More page, and you'll see there where I have the archived episodes. You guys can go back and check out any previous episode that I've ever done, going all the way back to when the show started on November 5th. Also, make sure you guys interact with me via the live interactive chat room on that same website. On the main page at the bottom, you'll see Listen Live. You'll see a little thought bubble dancing around down there. Just click on that little thought bubble. You guys can join the chat room like my guy Matt from East Point has today, as we talk about the Atlanta Falcons. No, we're not talking about the Falcons, who, by the way, signed all their draft picks. The first team in the NFL to sign every last one of their draft picks, and brought 22 guys in as undrafted free agents, trying to find those diamonds in the rough, man. We'll see how it works out when the season starts. But no, talking about the Atlanta Hawks and just asking the question, like, why? Why would you include them in a conversation that that surrounds Kevin Durant's free agency, his pending free agency here in the summer of 2016? I just found it weird. Now, like I said, I understand that people nationally don't necessarily talk about the Hawks, but this ain't that Hawks team or organization anymore. I think the organization is in a pretty stable place right now. Now, you can look at that as being good or bad, but it's in a place where you kind of know what you're going to get year in and year out. You got a good team, and that's basically all they're going to be. They're going to be a good team. Now, to get to that next level, the NBA has told you each and every year that you need to have that dude on your team, that guy You know what I mean? People say the closer or whatever you want to term it as. But when I use that term, that guy, you know who it is, and you know he's not on this current Atlanta Hawks roster. Before we move on, we got to do this thing we do every day. We call it on this day. I call it on this day. I keep saying we. I call it on this day, where we take a look back into the annals of sports.
Now, let's take a look back. On this day.
All right, let's get it on. On this day in 1733, the first international boxing match between Bob Whittaker and Tito D. Carney happened. Bob Whittaker won that joint, for all you Bob Whittaker fans. Speaking of boxing, there was like this thing that happened earlier today that apparently people thought Floyd Mayweather was going to fight Conor McGregor in a boxing match. Yeah, it's not happening. It was one like it was said, and then it was deaded. You know what I mean? For a lot of different reasons, it can't happen. Conor McGregor is under contract with the UFC. They're not risking that for no foolish, little some sort of dumb exhibition. On this day in 1915, the Boston Red Sox, Babe Ruth, yes, kids, Babe Ruth played for the Boston Red Sox, and he was a pitcher. He made his debut on this day, and he hit his first home run. They lost to the New York Yankees 4-3 in 15. For many of you baseball geeks that know about, you guys know about the Babe, the curse of the Babe, and all that kind of craziness. On this day in 1921, the American Soccer League was formed. On this day in 1954, Roger Bannister of Great Britain became the first person to run the mile in under 4 minutes. He finished in 3 minutes, 59 seconds, or 59.04 seconds. On this day in 1968, the San Francisco Giants reliever Lindy McDaniel sets a National League record for 225 consecutive errorless games out of 108 chances consecutively since June 16th, 1964. On this day in 1974, the smallest attendance ever was at the Philadelphia's Veterans Stadium. It was 4,149 people there. And finally, on this day in 1987, Mario Andretti, he sets the one-lap speed record at the Indianapolis 500 at 218.204 miles per hour. Jesus Christ. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your Friday edition, your last edition of On This Day for the week. Speaking of the week, real quick, I know all you Negroes out there call yourself celebrating Cinco de Mayo yesterday. That's weird. I think last year was the first year someone actually told me what Cinco de Mayo was really about, and like almost immediately as I was told, I've forgotten already. You know what I mean? And then, Mother's Day is coming up on Sunday. If you listen to this show enough, you know how I feel about holidays. They're stupid. And this is another stupid one. You know what I mean? Mother's Day. Like, my mom is my mom every day. You know what I mean? On some real stuff. Like, there's times where I'll just text my mom on a Wednesday, a random Wednesday, and just tell her thank you, and I appreciate you, and I love you. Like, why should I wait? Speaking of Matt posted something the other day about rent being due and it being Mother's Day on Facebook, and somebody replied with the reason I think holidays are stupid. He said something like, yeah, I got to pay this rent. Moms, I got you next year. What the hell you got to wait for a year to do something for your moms for? You know what I mean? If you want to buy your mom some damn flowers, buy your mom some flowers because it's, the second Wednesday in June or whatever. But, this planned emotion, today is the day we got, and that's why on Sunday I'm going so in on the dumbest stuff on social media. Make sure you follow me at One Mike with Big Mike on Twitter and Instagram. Yeah, I'm going dumb on all the stupidness that goes on, this Mother's Day food, because everybody now got the little I love mom crap on their profiles now and pictures with their mom. Come on, man. You know what I mean? You're running a rat race. You on the little rat wheel, just running like you're caught in the Matrix. Every day should be Mother's Day. You know what I mean? Do something good for your mom just because she's mom. Not you just waiting for that day in May, boy. Ridiculous. Yeah, I won't continue on that path. But anyway, I was talking about Kevin Durant and his pending free agency here in the summer of 2016, and how the Atlanta Hawks have just been The other team that was mentioned today, by the way, is that same Boston Celtics team that I mentioned earlier that I think Al Horford would be going to. Now, along with Al Horford, Kent Bazemore is going to become a free agent over the summer. And decisions are going to have to be made because a lot of people are going to be getting like hella money this year. You feel me? I heard Jeff Van Gundy about a week ago or 2 weeks ago say that Matthew Dellavedova, he's going to be a free agent, and someone's going to pay that dude $10 million a year. That dude, Matthew Dellavedova. So the Hawks are just going to have to make some decisions like, all right, man, there's a possibility that, okay, say you lose Al. There's a possibility that Kent Bazemore, just because of the way circumstances kind of played out, will be your leading, will be your highest paid player. And the folks in Atlanta are going to have to be smart enough to understand why that is. I don't trust them to be, but because they weren't smart enough to understand why Joe Johnson became at one point, the way his contract was. He was the highest paid player in the league, and everyone knew it was going to happen except for the people here for whatever that summer of LeBron and Bosh and who else was in that summer? Carlos Boozer and Joe Johnson and Amari Stoudemire. Everyone, all the basketball pundits knew when everything shook out, Joe was going to win. Nah, not people here. Like, I can't believe they paid Joe that much money. Or the way they said here, they gave Joe that much money as though he didn't have to go to work at all for it. It became a ridiculous thing. But we may be in for it again. If you really want to keep Kent Bazemore, you don't want to leave or you want to lose that same position. Another guy that you've pretty much developed and has grown in this system. Last year you lost to Amari Carroll. This year it has the potential of being Kent Bazemore. The Hawks are going to have to make that decision. Mr. Coonan. I don't even remember his first name because I just love calling him Mr. Coonan. And Bud, Coach Budenholzer, they're going to have to make a decision on that and see what's what. See what else is out there. Because the only thing that's going to be popping in the East, really, there's a thought that maybe we see Dwight Howard reappear in Orlando. But, who cares? It's Dwight Howard and it's Orlando. Who gives a damn? You know what I mean? Let's see. See, I had to write this stuff down today because I don't want to miss anything. Because the other thing is this. Kevin Durant comes here. I would have to believe that this would quote unquote be his team. Like coming through the door. As soon as he puts on the jersey, it's his team. It's not Teague's team anymore. Or if you think it's Al's team, or if you think it's Paul Millsap's team because he's the highest paid, I think all that changes immediately. I think it changes with Kevin Durant. And the other thing about Kevin Durant coming here, there's this kind of belief in the city, and I think outside of the city as well, that Atlanta is not a place for free agents because of the fan base. You know what I mean? And that is a concern. I think so because is this team has spent most of the year in, around third, fourth place in the East. They've only sold out. At one point, towards the end of the season, the number was 11 games. 11 games they sold out. And this is a team that at halftime have like Young Jeezy and T.I. and all people like that performing at these games and only managed to officially sell out like 11 of them. Meanwhile, you got a bum-ass Chicago squad that they sell out every game. So that may be concerning for a possible free agent. But the other thing is, who do you think you are? And I'm saying with Kevin Durant. If he thinks he's that dude, and like they'll come out because he's here, it's a possibility. You know what I mean? It's just so much to be mulled over. But I think to not have the conversation. And I know, like I said, it's still early. We're talking about 55 days left. No one even knows if he's going to leave Oklahoma City, man. But the conversations that I see being had on NBA TV and on ESPN or Fox Sports or wherever I'm looking, they never involve this Hawk squad. And now today, it was just kind of perfect timing that the Spurs came up in many of the conversations that they seem to be interested. They got to get rid of a lot of players and all this kind of stuff to make it happen, but it's workable for them. So when they come up, now I think it's a perfect time. Like, okay, you like that system and that coach? Well, it may not be the same thing in Atlanta, but it's the Eastern Conference too. You know what I mean? I think at some point you gotta like kind of factor that in a little bit. Let's take a quick glance around the rest of the playoffs real quick before I move on. Last night we got to see Toronto in the Heat again. I mentioned it a little bit earlier. Kyle Lowry and that boy DeMar. I think DeMar DeRozan kind of is the forgotten guy, and I don't mean that in the way that, oh my God, he's underrated. No, I think everybody's like worrying about Kyle Lowry shooting. DeMar DeRozan is horrible too. Like both of them are historically terrible shooting from the field. They were able to get some good play. What's his boy's name? Giannis, the big boy in the middle that was like kind of killing Hassan Whiteside. 15 points, 12 rebounds for him last night, and he kind of was the steadying force outside of those big shots by Kyle Lowry in the end of the fourth quarter. And the other thing, really, the Heat gave the ball away so many times early in that ball game. I think it was like 12 first quarter turnovers or something, like 11 to 12 first quarter turnovers, and it was really hard to climb back out of that hole, even though they ended up pushing it to overtime with some big shots by Dwayne Wade and Goran Dragic. You know, it almost felt like at the beginning of the game that they were just happy, you know, to have stolen home court, and it was like, we can't get out of here fast enough. But then realized at some point during the game, like, these dudes suck. They can't shoot the basketball. Let's go ahead and try to win two of these things. And by the time, you know, that level of urgency set in, I think it was too late. You know, the home crowd was there acting bananas. You know, everything was kind of falling for them. They made some crucial stops in the end. They being the Toronto Raptors at the end to kind of pull out that victory. It was like a low scoring game too. Like 96-92. So, and this is an overtime game, so they didn't even break 100 with the extra 5. And now the series goes back to Miami. Let's see here. I got the schedule pulled up here. Yeah, Saturday, tomorrow at 5, we got the Miami Heat, and at 8:30, we got Golden State and Portland. And the other game that's gonna come on tonight is, you know, after that melee or whatever you want to call it. That I don't call it melee. That debacle at the end of the game with the Thunder. I forget who I was talking to about this. It might have been online. Like, the Chris Webber thing was so weird. If you guys saw that last 13.5 seconds of the last San Antonio Oklahoma City game where the kid bowled Manu Ginobili from out of bounds, and it was like the NBA came back and said they blew like 5 or 6 calls. And the referees blew like 5 or 6 calls. Here's the thing: that whole 2-minute report, I understand the purpose of it. Like the NBA, because of the Tim Donaghy situation, they don't want anything being placed into doubt. People don't want to feel like the results of the games have already been determined, so they kind of put this report out. But unless you're gonna change something, I don't think it does any good, man. You know, everybody saw what happened, and you know, everybody heard Chris Webber getting like way too you would think Chris Webber was in on something. You know what I mean? How pissed off he was of what happened to Manu Ginobili. And somebody was like, people feel like these guys can't show emotion. You know, he said he's a fan first. And well, I'm like, he's wrong. He's not. He's getting paid to be an analyst. And if he was doing his damn job, he, sitting at the vantage point that he was at, could have pointed out the other things that went wrong if he wasn't so animate about, oh, my God, I can't believe it. Oh, my God, my God. And at one point he caught himself. He was like, we have the best referees in the world, so I'm not saying they did it on purpose. Then why are you so mad, B? Tell them why you mad, son. Because you would have seen that Manu Ginobili stepped out of bounds, which is a technical foul, which would be shot and the ball back to Oklahoma City. You would see where what's the boy's name? Ennis Canner was held at the out of bounds by a fan. You would have seen where Kevin Durant was fouled by Danny Green on the inbounds pass. A lot of things happen, man. And if you're San Antonio, I think that's the only game they lose, to be honest with you. I have the same theory that I had last week when I was talking about like teams who got blown out and then, find a way to win in one of these very close games. Dallas did it against Oklahoma City. Same thing. Like that's the best you had. That's the best Oklahoma City had against this squad. And the San Antonio didn't play their game. It was almost like they had sort of a hangover from the first game after whooping these boys' ass. Like mentally, they just felt like this was going to be practice, another practice, a scrimmage again. But they playing two of the best, in Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. Gee whiz, man, I had some pizza earlier. Oh God. So that game's gonna come on later on tonight. I'm gonna check that joint out. But I think the series is already over. You know what I mean? I think the style of play of the Oklahoma City Thunder is one that feeds right into what San Antonio wants to do defensively. All that one-on-one, pounding the ball into the damn floor. Exactly. It's exactly what they want you to do. Instead of moving the basketball and making them move on defense, that ain't what Oklahoma City does. So like I said, tomorrow we also have the Raptors and the Heat going back to Miami, tied up 1-1. We have another 1-1 series, Golden State and the Portland Trail Blazers. Steph is not going to play again because Klay Thompson's showing that he's also that man. He's that dude. And then Draymond. Like, there's been conversations being had about Draymond Green possibly being not the MVP of the league, but in a weird way, the MVP of that team. This is something that I've been screaming since last year, man. Like, yes, Steph is he's the sports car. He's the driver of this sports car. But Draymond Green is the engine. He's the thing that makes it go. He's the reason why his decision making, his effort defensively, his intensity, all those things are that element. Like, as things currently stand, you see Steph is hurt. Like, Steph is out, and Sean Livingston has come in and played admirably. The one thing I don't think they can replace, I don't think they replace Draymond Green. I think he's the guy who there is no, maybe in the league, there is no substitute for. A dude that he allows them to go to that lineup, that quote-unquote lineup of death, the small ball lineup, because the other team's big isn't able to just kill them offensively, on the offensive glass. Adversely, he's able to, once he clears that defensive rebound, he can start your break immediately. Ain't no outlet pass. Everybody's off to the races, man, because in that lineup, your five can be your decision maker. Your center can be your decision maker. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing, man. And I think so many times people talk about this Golden State team, and I heard like Dan Patrick talking about how Luke Walton, it may have been Colin Cowherd, one of those two dudes, talking about how it's going to be an uphill climb for Luke Walton because they don't have the type of players that Golden State has, the shooters that they have. But I think Golden State's identity, if you look at it closely and clearly, I think Golden State's identity is made more so on the defensive end. Like, that's what allows them to start, like, wiping dudes out. Because they're getting stops. And when they're getting stops, you're getting 0 and they're getting 3. So by the time, like, you can be up 8. And in three straight possessions, you'll be down 1. Almost like at the blink of an eye. I think defensively is where they're very, very underrated. And I think a lot of that comes with effort, man. The effort and the trust that they have within each other, the communication. And, like, if Luke Walton can take that to L.A., yeah, I think they'll be all right. Once if this draft pick works out well for them, they get to keep it. I think they'll be on their way. My guy Steve Wilson said, 2 years. The 2 years they'll be in a position where they can compete again. Speaking of Luke Walton, his former head coach, yeah, Phil Jackson don't care about none of this crap, man. Like, at a certain point, we've got to just, like, everybody's got to relax and just understand that Phil Jackson has his dude. And unless somebody, I don't know, maybe somebody can blow him out the water and get him to replace Kurt Rambis. But I think Phil wants a yes man. He wants the dude that's going to do what he says do so he can coach the team kind of subliminally or from a third-party perspective and not be the dude on the sideline, but still kind of be the dude on the sideline, kind of have him a puppet down there. And that puppet happens to be, I don't think Derek Fisher fit the mold. I think he fit the mold initially, but then things started falling apart. And, you know, as most people will want to do, when things start falling apart, what you want to do, you want to start trying to do something else. Phil don't want that, so Derek Fisher had to go. Now you're sitting here with Kurt Rambis, and Phil's on vacation. Everybody else hiring and firing head coaches. Phil need one, apparently. Well, you would think they're on vacation in Des Moines or somewhere in Iowa, somewhere chilling. Speaking of people who need coaches and firing coaches, Larry Bird got rid of Frank Vogel after they lost in that Game 7 to the Toronto Raptors. Frank Vogel of the Indiana Pacers is now another guy who's, you know, out there looking for a gig. A lot of people seem to be kind of disturbed about it. They asked Eric Spoelstra, the Heat's coach, about it. He seemed to be kind of disturbed about it. And, you know, it goes along that trend we've seen this year, man. Starting with the Kevin McHale situation, and then David Blatt in Cleveland. Can't really throw Byron Scott into that situation, but yeah, coaches just being, you know, replaced and very quickly successful coaches. Last year we saw it with Tom Thibodeau. Very successful coaches being replaced, even in Oklahoma City. Scott Brooks. Larry Bird gave maybe let's call it an excuse, you know, that it's time for a new voice, and after a certain amount of years, the players get tired of hearing the same voice. I think that may be true, but the evidence doesn't really support. The evidence of what that team did this year doesn't really support what Larry Bird is saying. He also tried to make it clear that, you know, Frank wasn't fired. We just didn't renew his contract. Look, man, where I'm from, that's called getting fired. He don't have a job no more, and he had one the day before, so he got fired. One thing that Larry Bird did say that I'm all about, really, they asked him about, speaking of, I just mentioned Kevin McHale, they asked him about Kevin McHale possibly being a replacement. He was like, nope, I'm not going to have my boy come work for me, because here's the deal. At some point, just due to the nature of the gig, unless you become Popovich or you become Jackson, even Phil kind of got fired. You know what I mean? And in Chicago, he kind of got fired. Yeah, you're going to be in a position where you got to fire your dude. Now, that's your man. Either you got to fire him or he's going to get you fired, and he's going to get fired anyway by proxy because you're his guy. So, yeah, you don't want to go that route if you don't have to. You know what I mean? Yeah, if you feel like in certain situations, yeah, you want a dude that's going to have your back, and nobody more so than your guy, your dude, but you know what I mean? That's a sticky one, man, especially after you just got rid of this dude Frank Vogel for, you know, it seemed like he was on a cool little path and doing the things that he needed to do to compete. But of course, Larry Bird's a champion, man, and he wants championships, and it's what I was talking about here in Atlanta. You know, how confident are you, or comfortable are you with what your team is? Just being a good team, a team that, you know, yeah, you might be like, I hope we win a championship, but in reality, you know it's not going to happen. Not as currently constructed. You know, all that bud ball thing, it's cool. It's cool for regular season wins, bud ball, but in the playoffs where every possession is at a premium, at some point, man, you need that guy. You know, you need your Steph Curry. You need your Dame Lillard. You need, you know what I mean, your Kawhi Leonard. You need that dude. And the Hawks, as solid as Paul Millsap is, and now here they call him the maintenance man or whatever they call him, or Dominique and Bob them call him, that's cool and fine. But he's not a dude that can get his own shot. He needs somebody else to set him up for his shot, and then that becomes a problem late in games when you need buckets. Also in the NBA, real quick before I wrap this segment up, Ben Simmons, I don't want to say consensus, but a lot of people feel like he's going to be the number one overall pick in this coming NBA draft. He's like, I ain't going to no damn combine for what? And I'm all about that life. You know, there's nothing to do there but hurt myself and be scrutinized more. It's just like staying in college. Yeah, screw that combine. People who are thinking about drafting you are going to work you out. They're going to come. They're going to interview you and all those things. You ain't got to go to that damn meat market. Screw them. And I wish more kids would take that approach. More top draft picks took that approach as it pertained to the NFL draft. Like, man, screw that. I'm what I am. You seen the tape. Let's go. And then we'll do pro days and we'll do private workouts and all these things so you get to know me as a person. But, yeah, this whole deal here, This meat market, psh, miss me. And also, real quick before I get up out of here for the segment, we talked about a little while ago those the NBA is now going to allow advertisements on the jerseys, little small advertisement, but there are limits to what you can advertise on the jerseys. The NBA teams will not be permitted to sell uniform advertisements to alcohol, tobacco, gambling, or other media companies. You know what I mean? So no Hennessy on your joint. You know what I mean? No cool cigarettes, Marlboros, and none of that. None of the gambling situations. And they actually put the daily fantasy people into the gambling side of things. It says NBA teams can do marketing deals with daily fantasy companies, but daily fantasy company logos will not be allowed on NBA jerseys. So I'm going to come back. I got to talk to you guys about, let me make sure I'm trying to do a better job of actually keeping myself in order here. We got to talk about Joe Paterno. We definitely got to do that. We got to talk about Joe Paterno here and what's going on the campus, not on the campus, but in the world of Penn State University as it relates to Joe Paterno, the whole Jerry Sandusky situation. I got some thoughts on that. So I'll do that next right here on the One Mic with Big Mike show. Appreciate you guys for joining me on this Friday. Make sure you guys tell a friend to tell a friend. You can hear me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday starting at 7 o'clock on Spreaker.com as well as on my website, onemicwithbigmike.com. And also you guys can still join the live interactive chat room by clicking on that little thought bubble you see on the media player. It'll take you straight to the live interactive chat room, and you can join the conversation that way. I'll be right back.
The odds of a young girl being discovered by an industry insider while singing to herself pumping gas. 1 in 300 million. The odds of a daughter of a clergyman from Severn, Maryland, spending 11 weeks at number 1 on the U.S. singles charts. 1 in 19 million. The odds of going on to win 7 Grammy Awards? 1 in 1.4 million. The odds of selling over 40 million records? 1 in 800,000. The odds of this musician and performer having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I'm Toni Braxton, and I encourage you to learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference. Autism Speaks. It's time to listen. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Dave, what are you doing?
Just sending a gift to Dave 2037.
Who?
Me in the future. I save a little money from every paycheck as a gift to Dave 2037, so he can spend it on things like anti-gravity boots or a hologram Doberman, something cool like that. I think Dave 2037 deserves it. He worked hard. What are you getting Steve 2037?
I guess I was thinking Steve 2037 would just fend for himself.
Well, all right, but don't expect to be borrowing my anti-gravity boots.
You want to have money in your future? You got to start saving now. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
Hey, let's just hope Steve 2037 doesn't get his hands on a cold time machine, because he is going to come back here and knock some sense into you.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
One mic. All I need is one mic.
What's the name of the show?
One mic with Big Mike.
You know, ain't nobody getting hurt, ain't nobody, there's no crime being committed.
And they say his style is too urban for the radio.
This is real life stuff that's happened to me.
Well, you know what?
You, and you.
One mic with Big Mike.
I like to be able to do what I want to do.
A sports talk show, but no subject matter is off limits.
Meek Mill's concert is not called the Hell Yeah I Bang Khloe Kardashian concert.
And now, your host.
Put your hands together for the one, the only
Big Mike.
All I need is one mic. Hour number 2 here on the One Mic with Big Mike show on a Friday evening. Looking forward to a nice weekend outside here in the A, man. Like I said yesterday, I mentioned earlier, it was mad chilly yesterday. Like for real, and it was kind of chilly today too. I was working out this morning and had to actually put on a sweatshirt, man, to actually get my thing going. I like to perspire a lot when I work out. It makes me feel like I'm actually doing something. But yesterday, man, it was mad cold. It was windy too. So the hawk was out. It's cold. It's like 40-something degrees at one point early yesterday. Well, we're looking for that to kind of clear up here in the ATL this weekend. I got to get outside and wash the car and got to get that grill cleaned off, man. It's time, man. It's time to start putting that meat in that grill and getting it popping up. And keep listening because as the show progresses, before I get out of here, I got to give you guys some rules to share with the members of the white delegation that you may know. And if you're a member of the white delegation, you need to hear these things before you call yourself going to your black homeboys or homegirls cookout over the summer or for the late spring and all those things. It's very, very important that you hear this, so make sure you stay tuned. Now, before I went to break, I was talking about the NBA. I was mentioning how I feel like the Hawks should be in the conversation. The Atlanta Hawks should be in the conversation for Kevin Durant. And I can't believe I left this out of the conversation when I was talking about what happened to the Hawks in Game 2 of the series with the Cleveland Cavaliers. There was a suggestion made by a Hall of Famer. His name is Charles Barkley, and for years, man, I've been telling people, man, like people like to say, man, Charles, keep it real, man. He the realest dude. No, what Charles Barkley is a clown. You know what I mean? All you got to do is give him the red nose and the big floppy feet. And he's the dude that people, white people especially, look at him like, oh shucks, that's Charles being Charles. He's put himself in a position to where he's not taken necessarily seriously. Now I think he has a good basketball mind, but something like the stuff that he says, like that shock value stuff that he says, it's ridiculous as hell. And here is a perfect example of what I'm talking about.
The Atlanta Hawks got to take somebody out, Ernie. Let me tell you something.
Come on, man.
When you say take them out, what do you mean? I mean,
touch them up or take them out?
Take them out.
Oh, man, you can't say that on national TV.
Yes, I can.
Just say touch them.
No, you can't. No.
You can't hurt nobody, Chuck.
You're not trying to hurt them.
Take them out, man. Hurt them.
You're not trying to. You got to take somebody out. You can't, Ernie, when a team is just embarrassing you, shooting threes when the game is way over, just trying to set a record.
Yeah, that made me just want to blow my brains out. Like he's such an idiot to where even when, by the way, that's from the TNT studio show with Ernie. That was the voices of Ernie Johnson, Shaquille O'Neal, Charles Barkley, and Kenny Smith. Now, when your man is like, look, Charles, nah, you can't say that. That's ridiculous. And then he tries to like kind of backtrack a little bit. I mean, I don't mean like hurt nobody. I mean take them out. What the hell? What? Like, once you realize you said something idiotic, just stop. Stop, man. Pull back. You know what I mean? Because and people all day today, people have been trying to give him make the excuses for him and bump for him. Or Steven Jackson saying, well, that's not what he meant. Are you crazy? He was corrected and still proceeded. Of course is what he meant. Michael Wilbon was like, well, see, the thing about Charles is he played in that type of era, so give me a break. He didn't get frozen there and woke and then got thawed out yesterday. No, because he covers the game as it is today. If somebody's just shooting threes on you, you know what you do? You play better defense. Be better. Like, don't be a punk about it. It's not like these dudes was going to the rim having a dunk contest. Like they was like Zach LaVine and cats. They were shooting threes from 29 feet out. And they was just hot, and you chose like I'm of the firm belief that just because you stop playing don't mean I'm going to. Like, if you want to just wallow in the embarrassment, by all means, I'll be more than obliged to continue to embarrass you. Yeah, this ain't the Cleveland Cavaliers' fault that they hit 25 threes. The Hawks got to take some type of damn pride and take some type of responsibility for not doing your gig. Like, that's that stupid stuff that happens in baseball. Like, a dude hits a home run and, like, flips the bat or twirls around or does something or stares at the pitcher. Like, the next time you got to hit him with the bat or hit him with the ball. No, do your job. Strike him out. And if you're a pitcher, here's the thing, too, that's so stupid about that, as I kind of digress into this whole baseball situation. If you're a pitcher, the percentages are on your side that the next time you're going to get that dude anyway. Like, a dude hitting 300 means he fails 70% of the time. That's outrageously in your favor. What you mad for? Why you acting like a child? And that's what Charles Barkley's advocating. And I've said it plenty of times on this show. For anybody who loves to holler out, man, old school basketball, man, these people wouldn't survive in the old school. Look here, man. I'm not trying to see Kevin Durant fight, Dwight Howard. I'm trying to see Kevin Durant get buckets, man. I'm trying to see, like, Klay Thompson and Steph Curry get buckets, and Carmelo and these dudes, these skilled players, do their thing. I ain't trying to see all that WWF stuff. And then when I didn't even know this happened back in the day, because apparently he said something about Cleveland and Charles Oakley, everyone's favorite tough guy, and I don't even say that like there's no tongue in cheek about that. He was like, Charles is a punk. He's scary. He hide behind. This is me paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me. He hide behind TNT. He better not say nothing else about Cleveland. Yeah, Charles Barkley definitely didn't snap back. He was like, I don't know what he got against me. He just don't like me. And then everyone proceeded to then show all the clips of y'all getting to fighting. And then Dan Le Batard tells a story about how in a players association meeting in front of like 400 people, Charles Barkley open hand slaps that dude. I mean, Charles Oakley. Did I say Oakley? Oakley. Open hand slaps Charles Barkley in the face. Barkley apparently denies it, but 400 other people were there. So I'm inclined to kind of believe the 400. And here's the thing. That's something that you can't do to me. Like, if you open hand slap me, I think I have to shoot you. I think that is like some sort of rule somewhere. Like, you can punch me. We as men punch me. And then we can proceed from there. You open hand slap me, man. It's like it's something else to that. And you got to feel me. Like your man said, like Birdman said, you got to feel me after that. So I can't believe I omitted that. That's one of the stupidest things ever in the world. If somebody do that to you, you got to take them out. See, again, one of those shock jock, I hate that term as well, but one of those, shock value things you said. And even the dudes that's sitting there with you, Ernie and Shaq, you hear them, and Kenny saying, man, come on, man, you being an idiot now. Of all the idiotic things we talk about that dude says, like, he finally reached the limit with the other cast members. Like, come on, man, you being an idiot. First of all, and then second of all, it's the Hawks. Like, who on the Hawks is that guy? Chris Humphrey? Tim Hardaway Jr. Come on, man, who's that dude, man, that you talking about is going to do that? Like, really and truly, who's that dude in the NBA? You know what I mean? That's gonna pull that move. He's just a ridiculous human being. And so many of y'all, just like y'all hang on Stephen A. Smith's words and hang on Skip Bayless's dumbass words, you hang on his words because you think that's keeping it real. It's not. It's not, man. It's pandering, and it's so much stupidity. It's not even funny. Before I went to break, though, this is the One Mic with Big Mike show here on a Friday with Big Mike. I know everybody probably checking out the game, but make sure if you're hearing this show, if you're still listening live and you weren't able to hear the beginning of the show or you're not able to hear the end of the show, make sure you check it out on TuneIn, on iTunes, also definitely on my website, onemicwithbigmike.com. All the archived episodes are there, as well as on Spreaker.com and the app. So while you're out chilling, doing whatever you're doing this weekend, you can check out the show, man. Hopefully, I heard from a young lady today, man, that it always makes me. I feel like it's cool when people listen to the show, and you don't have to be in the chat room interacting with me. It is called One Mic so it's just me, One Mic with Big Mike, me. I like the interaction in the chat room, I do, but I've always learned, or I was taught and trained that, while doing radio, you have to do your show and act as though the phones are broken. You find out so many times people depend on those phones, boy. They show up and they don't have enough, especially in times like this. Like, that's why Wednesday I didn't do a show, because I could have forced the show and, forced myself to talk for 2 hours. One, I didn't feel like it, and two, I don't want to do that if I don't have to. Like, I don't work for anybody. So if there's nothing to really talk about, like, what I'm going to do, spend 2 hours talking about Chris Webber overreacting to a bad call? That's what a lot of people did that day. I listened. Yeah, I'm good. You know what I mean? I'm good. I'm going to talk when I got something to say and something to talk about. And the fact that, I don't have my partner no more, my guy, Rob Calloway, that's the type of thing, like, on days like that, that's when you just F around. Like, you have a real, real good time on those days. But, it's just me. So I made the decision, like, you know what, I'm just going to chill. I wasn't really feeling it or feeling well that day either on Wednesday, so I was like, whatever. In other news, I think Chris Humphrey is balling on the Cavs. I can see it a little bit, but moving on. I told you guys I was going to talk about Joe Paterno. A couple of years ago, I don't know, maybe it might have been like 5 years ago now, 4 or 5 years ago now. The big scandal on the campus of Penn State University was Jerry Sandusky sexually molesting boys on the campus of Penn State University. And when everything kind of fell out, the NCAA got involved. They hit him with a harsh penalty, which they came back in true NCAA fashion, came back and rescinded the sanctions, ended them much earlier than they initially were. But now, I don't know, yesterday maybe, some documents were presented, and it kind of outlines how early Joe Paterno, because that was one of the sticky issues for the people at Penn State, and people felt like the school shouldn't have been punished by the NCAA because, it wasn't an athletic endeavor. It had nothing to do with the school. Joe Paterno didn't know, and all these kind of things. Or when he did know, some kind of dumbass, excuse was that he told his superiors, like as though there's someone in that town that's more superior than Joe Paterno was. But, nonetheless, here's what the article says. An article by Ryan Phillips from thebigleague.com. It says a child apparently reported to Paterno that he was sexually abused by Sandusky in 1976, 40 years ago today, or as of this year. It came to light via court order during a related insurance coverage case involving Penn State. The insurance company doesn't want to pay. Penn State wants their money. Has something to do with the payout, with the payout from the case. It says, quote, in 1976, a child allegedly reported to PSU's head coach, Joseph Paterno, that he, the child, was sexually molested by Sandusky. That's the word I was looking for, sexually molested. End quote, by the way. The court order also cites references to incidents in 1987 and 88 in which former assistant coaches observed, quote, inappropriate contact between Sandusky and unidentified children, end quote. Another 1988 incident that was reported to Penn State's athletic director at the time. All of the incidents are reportedly described in victims' depositions that are currently under seal. Now, the attorney from the Paterno family, he had to make sure he rebutted these things. He says, quote, over the last 4.5 years, Joe Paterno's conduct has been scrutinized by an endless list of investigators and attorneys. Through all this review, there's never been any evidence of inappropriate conduct by Coach Paterno. To the contrary, the evidence clearly shows he shared the information with his superiors as appropriate. He goes on to say, an allegation now about the alleged event 40 years ago as represented by a single line in a court document regarding an insurance issue with no corroborating evidence does not change the facts. Joe Paterno did not at any time cover up conduct by Jerry Sandusky, end quote. If you guys remember, at Penn State's own hired independent investigator, a guy named Louis Free in the Free Report, remember? He found that Paterno and former Penn State president Graham Spanier were aware of the complaints against Sandusky starting in at least 1988. See, here's the thing, and I asked this question. When this thing first happened, I asked this question, on the air. Like, who's worse in this situation? Like, once you concede that they're both ginormous, huge, I use ginormous, they're just huge douchebags. Once you get there, I asked the question, which one is worse? The dude who actually perpetrated the incident or the guy who knew about it long, long ago and could have saved so many kids but said nothing and only thought about himself and his quote-unquote legacy. Which guy was worse? I put it on Facebook today, and I got a couple of different answers, and I think it's one of those things where, in reality, there is no wrong answer. Like I said, once you get to the point where both of them are humongous douchebags, and I personally feel like Joe Paterno got off easy with death. Like that a-hole should have been in a jail cell too. I don't give a damn if he's 80 years old, whatever, man. Like I have to believe that there's no coming back from that. You know what I mean? Like once someone betrays you that way, as a child, I guess, I don't like. How do you come back from that? Like even if you go on to be a success in whatever field, maybe, I would have to believe that those demons exist, man. Because the facts are that Jerry Sandusky had a foundation, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was a foundation for at-risk youth, kids that didn't have proper parental, I don't know, like parents at home that cared and all this kind of, at-risk youth. And he took advantage of that situation. He used that situation to molest kids. And what I said a few years ago when this thing first happened is there are like these auxiliary victims to this, because you understand he had this organization, a vast organization. So a small percentage of those kids are the kids that he molested. Those are the I guess let's call them the top tier victims. But once he gets caught up in this situation and he gets found guilty and sent to jail, the things that then happen because of that, the organization gets shut down. And I have to believe the organization was around for so long, it had to have helped I would assume the majority of the kids that were involved in it. But he went through and handpicked certain kids to do these horrible things to. And because of that, not only do those kids get affected, but these other kids who are already at risk, their lives are affected too. It's such a horrible situation, man. And like there's certain things in that get done by people in life that there's no way. Like I don't give a damn who you are. Like I'm the one who I talk a lot of times about people being identified by the lowest moment in their life, like Laramie Tunsil during the draft, right? Like everyone's acting like this kid, there was a tape of him cutting up dead bodies or something and burying them. Something. He was smoking weed in what looked to be like some sort of dorm room or something. The way hundreds of thousands of kids are probably doing as I'm speaking right now. You know what I mean? And people are talking about how, well, now he's got to understand that, this thing that happened and blah, 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 blah. And he's got to figure out what he's going to do with his life and all this kind of stuff is because, and people say stuff like that because they're allowing one very low moment in this kid's life, which, by the way, which was actually criminally perpetrated upon him by someone. I guess now the investigation is on his former business manager as someone who had access and someone who may have had an axe to grind. So they're looking into possibly him being the person who hacked his account and put these videos and these tweets out about about Laramie Tunsil. But that's one example. Now I'll continue talking about that here as I move on in the show. That's one example of one moment or one thing defining someone's entire life. And in that situation, I don't think it should be. In the case of Joe Paterno, I don't give a damn. Like someone today was talking about, yeah, they gave back his wins and the statue and all. I don't give a damn about all that. Like, all that stuff is whatever. You know what I mean? Who cares? Like, this dude allowed kids to be violated, man. Like, think about 40 years, man. And I'm the type of person, I believe this about people. I believe people in general are insatiable. Like, if someone told most people that okay, there's a bank vault, and every day between 11 and 1 o'clock, everyone's going to leave. You'll have total access to it. Go in there, and you can get a couple $100. After about the third day of you doing that, you're going to stop just getting $100. You're going to get more. You're going to continue. You're going to see how much you can get until you can't anymore. I think that's the nature of man. And so if you think about that in the case of like Jerry Sandusky, if he started this thing as far back as 1976, and we talking 4 years ago, so 35 years of that. Like you think he got like, you think he calmed down? He didn't get more comfortable with doing that to boys? Like he was caught in the shower on campus, man. His man gave him a key when he wasn't even working there no more. It's like that can't even really be. I just read today that apparently he's got some sort of appeal rights. He's appealing for a new trial or whatnot. They need to bury that dude under the jail, B. That stuff is inexcusable. And if you could bring Joe Paterno back and, just bring him back alive just for that, so he could face that, because his family is still in denial. Like kids, his kids who weren't even alive are like, yeah, my dad didn't know. How you know? You wasn't there. It's just ridiculous. Or they were small kids with no way of knowing. Here's the real deal, man. This is why I always talk about how you don't go that hard for anybody. Like, people love to do that, man. Like Bill Cosby and all this kind of stuff, because of what your perception of what that person is. But if you wasn't there to see what did or didn't happen, you can't go that. You can say that you don't want to believe that, Joe Paterno wouldn't have said that, or he wouldn't have done that, or Bill Cosby wouldn't have done that, or whatever. You can say you don't want to believe those things. That's one thing. But to be adamant that it didn't happen when you have really no way of knowing that it didn't happen, that whatever terrible thing didn't happen. I don't give a damn. It could be my dad. I don't care. Like, I'm the type of person, I like to look at things very rationally. And if I look at the situation and it's like, this look bad for my pops, man. Like, everything points to, yeah, him doing this. I see that stuff all the time on those 48-hour shows where the dad kills the mom or whatnot, and the kids are like, nah, my dad wouldn't do that. Or, I was looking at that movie, that HBO movie, Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill. You know what I mean? And people standing up like, the man I know Clarence Thomas to be, he would never do something like that. Well, that's the thing. Very few people are the same person to everybody. So, yeah, it's quite plausible that the person you knew wouldn't do that. But that don't mean he don't have the capability in him of doing it. That don't mean he didn't do it. That's two separate things. Whew, let me catch my breath. let me catch my breath, because there's a lot of idiocy going on in this whole situation. I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to come back, and last thing I'm going to do before I get out of here, I got to give you guys these rules, these cookout rules for the Black Cookout. It's hilarious. This is my second time reading it. I saw this some months ago, and something happened today that made me just want to see it again or look at it again. And it's mad hilarious, man. So I'm going to come back, tell you guys all about that, and I'm going to get the hell up out of here and watch these basketball games. We'll do it next right here on One Mic with Big Mike, heard on Spreaker.com every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday starting at 7 o'clock. And on the website, make sure you guys go to the website, definitely, OneMicWithBigMike.com, the number one, MICWITHBIGMIKE.com. Make sure you guys are following me on Twitter and Instagram at that same handle, without the .com, of course, just One Mic with Big Mike. I'll be right back.
The odds of a young girl being discovered by an industry insider while singing to herself pumping gas. 1 in 300 million. The odds of a daughter of a clergyman from Severn, Maryland, spending 11 weeks at number 1 on the U.S. singles charts. 1 in 19 million. The odds of going on to win 7 Grammy Awards. 1 in 1.4 million. The odds of selling over 40 million records. 1 in 800,000. The odds of this musician and performer having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I'm Toni Braxton, and I encourage you to learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference. Autism Speaks. It's time to listen. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. It is the last 30 minutes of the show, last 30 minutes of the week, man. I appreciate you guys once again for joining me, and everyone who takes the time out to download the podcast, to stream it after the fact. I definitely appreciate you guys as well, man. I'm going to do, during these playoffs, I got to do some giveaways, man. I got a couple of brand new era Hawks hats. I'm going to give away to some of my Hawks fans, listeners, man. I don't have any use for them, but they brand new snapbacks. Straight out the box, man, from New Era, man, the good ones. So I'm gonna figure out a way to do that here in the coming weeks or so, just to kind of show my appreciation. You know what I mean? So yeah, this show today is kind of went a little bit of everywhere. I started off the show talking about the NBA playoffs, you know, kind of recapping, giving my opinions on the things that I saw. That kind of morphed into a conversation about Kevin Durant, and the conversation, just having the conversation nationally. It's not even happening locally, to be honest with you, but the possibility of Kevin Durant becoming an Atlanta Hawk, and why it can't happen. You know, I think the conversation should happen. I know it's an uphill endeavor to get a dude like that to come here, because for whatever reason there's some sort of superstar repellent on my city. It would seem, well, I don't know. Maybe it is the strippers, you know, because don't nobody do strip clubs like the A. You know, maybe Miami, from what I understand. I haven't been to a Miami strip club, but from my understanding, they kind of get it in down there as well. But for my money, you know, nobody do it like the A for the last, you know, like damn near 4 decades of my life. You feel me? So maybe that's what it is. You know, a guy coming here, a lot of money, a lot of trapping, especially coming from Oklahoma City to Atlanta. That's you know what I mean. That's like going from Mars to Earth. You know what I mean? It's a different thing going on, man. But at least the conversation should be had. If you're a fan of the Atlanta Hawks, why wouldn't you have that conversation? I'm always kind of on my city, man, about being more educated in the way of their sports and not being so damn emotional about everything. How everything, like having these extreme highs and then having these extreme lows when it comes to their sports teams. More so understanding processes. Like right now, the Braves are going through a process, man, and it's going to be ugly at first. But the Kansas City Royals, who just won the World Series, went through the same process. Teams like the Pittsburgh Pirates went through the same process. The Astros went through the same process, man, getting real bad, developing talent to where they can stay relevant for many years to come with young talent. The Cubs as well, you know. The Braves are just kind of following in the latest trend, man, and in a couple of years we'll see if it pans out here in Atlanta. But it's about being patient. I saw somebody tweet the other day that the Braves ain't gonna win 20 games. Well, that's kind of impossible, you know, because the thing about the major leagues is even the bad teams, they win about 40% of their games. So the Braves are gonna win their share of games. You know what I mean? They're not gonna win many series, but they'll win their share of games, because at some point they'll play other bad teams. You know what I mean? That'll happen, and then they'll get their share of games. But it may just be a while before they're competing at the level that some people in the city have become used to. Not me. I remember the days when the Braves was losing 100 games. I remember that. You know what I mean? I was like 12, 13 years old when that was happening, B, and it wasn't fun because, like, at 13, you're not understanding a process. You're just like, man, my team sucks in my city. But now, as an adult, we should be more educated as to what's going on. The sports spectrum is broadened, so we can observe what's going on in other places more closely and understand that, you know, certain things take a process. So here in Atlanta, the Braves are going through that process. The Hawks have gone through their process, but now they're at a holding point right now. Shout out to my guy I Am No Dose. He's in the chat room. You guys can join the chat room as well by going to my website, onemike.com, and clicking the little thought bubble you see dancing around on the media player. I guess he's a Pelicans fan. He wants a Pelican cap. I don't have none of those. I'll see if I can find it though. And that's the other thing I'm learning too. Like I'll say something on social media and in Facebook, and I just think it's like a normal like question or a normal thing to throw out there. And for whatever reason, people jump into their fan skin quickly. You know, at the drop of a dime, they just jump into their fan skin, and there starts these little back and forth between people, and then I get caught into it. Like, you don't know what you're talking about, because apparently, whatever team that I'm talking about, the only reason I can talk about them is if I'm a fan of them, which immediately runs afoul to somebody who's a fan of, like, if I say something about the Falcons, someone who's a Buccaneers fan or a Saints fan or something, you know, feels the need to like come at me with something, and I'm like, yeah, I ain't in that bag. You know what I mean? I don't do the whole, you know, that's my favorite team. I'm an adult. You know what I mean? My favorite team, my favorite player, and all that. Nah, I just like sports. I like to watch sports. I get enjoyment from watching sports. Period. And I talk about them from a perspective of just what I see. You know, I talk what I see. So anyway, I then talked about Joe Paterno as well. I talked a little bit about the NFL, how the Falcons have they've invited 22 guys in the camp, undrafted guys in the camp. They were the first team to finish signing all of their draft picks. I'm even prepared for that too. I got a list of the Falcons draft picks here somewhere. Of course, Keanu O'Neal, kid out of Florida, then Deion Jones, the linebacker from LSU. Austin Hooper, third-round tight end from Stanford. Devondre, guess what color he is. Devondre Campbell out of Minnesota, the linebacker. A guard out of San Jose, and Wes Schweitzer. And a seventh-round wide receiver out of UCLA, and Devin Fuller. And they're all signed and in camp. Rookie minicamp started today. I think like the Cowboys and the Bills and the Dolphins are a few teams that started their mini camps. The Broncos as well. They got a first look at their quarterbacks in Dallas with Ezekiel Elliott, down in Miami with Tunsil. And here's the thing that's happening too, that I think it's kind of smart to do, man. There is no more rookie symposium, so it's being made the team's responsibility to get these guys ready for professionalism. Be a professional athlete, a professional first, then an athlete. And a lot of the teams are taking the time out to do a lot more mental preparation and social preparation rather than being on the field, risking injury for a lot of guys. And I think it's smart, especially if everyone's going to do it. Like, no one feels like there always seems to be this feeling amongst NFL players or NFL teams that the other teams are getting a jump on us. So we've got to work later into the night, and I've got to work later into the night, and we've got to do more and do things longer or do more things with the time we have. And I think teams are taking a step back, man, and understanding that part of the adjustment is not just adjusting to an NFL offense or a new defensive scheme. It's understanding, like, you got a bunch of money now, dude. You're going to show up at the ticket window, or your direct deposit going to hit, and it's going to be, like, more money than probably your moms have made in the last 3 years. And you got to be ready for that, man. So big up to some of the NFL teams for doing it. I got some more NFL stuff I want to hit on, but I think I can save it till Monday. Some of the things that the NFL is doing, some shady kind of stuff that they're doing. And also before I get out of here for the week, man, shout out to Marcus Lattimore. Everyone knows Marcus Lattimore had that big time, that big gruesome injury at the University of South Carolina. He ended up getting drafted 6th round, I think 5th or 6th round by the San Francisco 49ers. It just didn't work out. The knee just wasn't going to hold up to an NFL standard as far as the running back is concerned. So he had to, end his playing career. But he did just receive his degree in public health from the University of South Carolina, which I'm mentioning mainly because it debunks all that stupid stuff people say, like, oh, my God, these kids are going to leave early. What about their education? As though the doors for the school are going to close because this kid wanted to go pro. Yeah, now the perfect example. If you want to go back, you're going to go back. I think Randall Cobb, I read an article just before I started the show about Randall Cobb going back to school. And he's going to be the first person in his family to get his degree. Yeah, you can do both, man. It's called chewing and walking and chewing bubblegum at the same time. It's such a stupid reason for not allowing somebody to maximize their earning potential. And then, two, the school still benefits. Marcus Lattimore graduating still goes towards South Carolina football's graduation rate. Also this weekend, Kentucky Derby. I don't really care about that. My former partner, Rob Calloway, is a big, he likes horse racing for some odd reason. He's from the same place I'm from, Decatur, Georgia, but for some reason he likes horse racing. He's a weirdo anyway. But I only bring this up because I always talk about this on the show, and I never really go and grab the actual wording. There's this thing called jockey syndrome. If you guys ever want to go check out this book by William H. Roden called The $40 Million Slave, it's an awesome read. It's very insightful on how the sports industry looks at athletes, black athletes. William H. Roden is an award-winning journalist from the New York Times, so he's accredited. If you want to, go check that out. But a part of that book, it talks about this thing called the jockey syndrome. And I always mention it whenever horse racing comes up in the show. Whenever I can, I mention it. But I never really give you guys what it is. And I went and found it because I didn't want to try to put it into words myself. Jockey syndrome, or the changing of the rules to maintain control in the face of a perceived challenge to white supremacy. Take the example of Isaac Murphy, the most prominent and wealthiest of the black jockeys who dominated the late 19th century racing. Murphy earned a mind-boggling $15,000 to $20,000 per year and employed a white valet in his season. He won his third Kentucky Derby in 1891, but died 5 years later at 31, having been run out of the sport. The white counteract consisted of physical interference with black riders on the track, owners refusing to hire black jockeys, and exclusionary practices of the newly formed jockey club. And the story kind of preceding that, the reason that that black jockeys were so popular and were able to earn that type of money way back then is because they were slaves and former slaves, and they had these relationships with these horses. They were the guys who were actually given the task of taking care of the horses. So they developed, how with animals you develop a bond with them, and they were able to ride the animals better than anyone else and perform better. But then it became a problem, obviously, because you can't have that. You can't have these Negroes winning stuff, and thus jockey syndrome. Last thing, and I got to get through this quickly, man. Dang, I think I wasted too much time. I ain't going to say wasted. I spent too much time on other stuff. This article is in negaswhoread.com. Yes, Negas. I haven't used this in so long.
Negus. Negus, Negus.
Just in case you want to know how to spell it. negaswhoread.com. It's the Caucasian's Guide to Black Barbecues. Now, listen very closely, ladies and gentlemen, especially if you're of the white persuasion and if you have friends who are in the white delegation and you're going to invite them to your barbecue, they're going to need to hear this. First of all, white people, number one, you got to bring something. At a black cookout, only the meat and the grill are supplied by the host. This is not a potluck. Black people do not do potluck. And please don't try no new stuff like potato salad with raisins or vegetarian shish kebabs. If your ass can't cook or you don't have all the required black seasonings, just bring cups and napkins. And, of course, a lot of aluminum foil. Number 2, it's a cookout. Meaning, white people, it happens outside. You don't go into the house unless you have to pee, which means there are very few things you should bring. A chair, there are a few things you should bring. A chair, bug spray, and, of course, another chair because someone's going to sit in that first chair as soon as you get up to go pee. Number 3, do not, by no means, arrive on time. If we say the party starts at 3, that means you can get there at around 4:47. It's what we call white people CP time. Number 4, learn to wobble. Period. The dance, the wobble. White people, YouTube it, learn it. It'll be good for you when you show up at this cookout. Number 5, make friends. You might be saying to yourself, well, I'll already be there with a friend. No, this says friends. And there's a foolproof way on how to do that. Number 1, bring a bottle of dark liquor, preferably Hennessy. Or I think Crown would be accepted as a substitute. B, keep it in the trunk of your car. C, someone, usually Tasha's boyfriend, will say, where the liquor at? Now, D is very important. You must wait. You'll want to rush up to him or say something, but ignore your white people timing instincts just this one time. E, when he changes the subject, walk over to him and say, quote, walk with me to my car. He'll know exactly what you mean. And F, when you pop the trunk, you'll have a friend for life. Tasha's new boyfriend. Number 6, do not play spades. Even if your black friend tries to teach you how to play spades, they're going to get you effed up. No matter what you do, don't get on the spades table talking about you, quote unquote, learn to play spades. You don't learn to play spades. Black people just know. Number 7, park down the street. That's a very important one, white people, because as you keep listening, you'll find out why it's important that you do not get blocked in. Number 8, don't worry about the drunk uncle. You know how at white people's Thanksgiving, there's always that one drunk uncle? Well, at black cookouts, all of our uncles are drunk uncle. Don't worry about them. And number 9, for domino advice, please refer to rule number 6. Again, do not play dominoes with the bruhs. And number 10, you must listen. As the evening progresses and the alcohol flows, it becomes more dangerous for you to be at this black cookout. There is a very simple and effective way to know when when a black cookout is getting dangerous. It's by listening to the music, white people. The music is not just entertaining. It's like a terror alert warning system. First and foremost, if you're listening to just pop culture music, like The Weeknd, 2 Chainz, Fetty Wap, it's going to be pretty safe. That means the kids are still around and everything's cool. Now, when things kind of progress to the old school R&B, Al Green, Parliament, all that stuff is going on, you still going to be all right. Because everybody's just getting lubed up, people eating, things is cool. Now, this is when things start getting a little bit more tense. When the old school hip hop starts. Because then you're going to start hearing arguments from the people who've been enjoying the spirits and getting drunk. They're going to be arguing about Rakim versus Tupac. Your Uncle Jerome is going to be talking about Kool Moe Dee is the greatest of all time. Starting to get a little bit sketchy. You better get ready. You better get ready because it's about to jump off. Now, finally, the gospel music. If you hear we fall down, but we get up, it says, run, MFer. Get the F out of there and leave those damn camp chairs right where you saw them at, right where you had them at. And ladies and gentlemen, you can go to my Facebook page, facebook.com/ONEMICWITHBIGMIKE. Did I say that right? One mic with Big Mike? Yeah, whatever. I wouldn't even listen to myself. And I have this as one of my posts. It is called The Caucasian's Guide to Black Barbecues. I'm here to save lives, man. You know, it's getting to be barbecue season, and my white brethren and my white sisterin, y'all need to hear this, man. So, real quick, just to recap before I get up out of here. Tomorrow, tomorrow's game, if you're listening to this on Friday, May, 6th? Yeah, the day after Cinco de Mayo. Tomorrow, the NBA games are going to be Toronto and Miami, Game 3 in Miami. And the late game is going to be Golden State, Portland, Game 3 in Portland. Also, let me make sure I got everything out for you guys. Of course, it is Mother. You know what else is crazy, too? And I think the ship is kind of just sailed on it right now. The lemonade situation. Like, I'm reading all the social media posts on Beyonce's Lemonade video, and I still haven't seen it. And I think at this point, because it's at the point now, I read something that Jay-Z is going to come out with a rebuttal to the Lemonade situation. You know, it's just money, a money grab. But, you know, I like Jay. I like the music. I got all the albums on my phone. I listen to them in the car when I'm riding. But, yeah, I think the ship is kind of sailed on the whole Lemonade thing. I don't think I really need to see it now. I've heard what I need to hear. The whole Becky with the long hair or the good hair, whatever it is thing. Yeah, I got the gist of it. So I don't think I really need to, you know, fall off into that endeavor any more than need be. Other thing. Oh, speaking of things that have kind of the ship is sailed on. I watch Underground on Wednesdays, right? And I'm a procurer of, you know, slavery reenactments, you know, Django and 12 Years a Slave, and you know, the new Roots is about to come out, and this joint here, Underground. But it's kind of like, yeah, for all the, like, they give you like these shocking moments within the plot line, but the plot line itself is, I think it's terrible. So next week, Wednesday, is going to be the season finale. I think I'm going to go ahead and fight my way through that. But if they do it, if they renew that joint for season 2, I think I'm going to be out. Yeah, I think I'm good. You know, just like how I did 2 seasons of Power, and that's about to come back. I think I'm done. Like, that, it's gotten so bad and corny, man. Like, when things stop making sense to me, I have this thing about me where I just have to, I gotta bounce, man. I can't continue to indulge in it. You know what I mean? It was cool at the beginning, but now, I don't know. It's just weird. Because I kind of had to fight, like, in the Underground situation, I had to fight through the it's called the vernacular. You know, the way they speak. Sometimes people speaking properly. Sometimes the slaves are speaking slave talk, you know, we gonna get caught, you know, because master coming, that type of thing. And sometimes they speak like they're from 2016. The inconsistencies was cool at first, but now the storyline is just way out of whack. It's so bad now, man. I think, yeah, after the season finale, I'm gonna be out. You know, I'm gonna be out. Speaking about. That's going to do it for this week, man. That's going to do it for the week. I hope everybody, if you're going to celebrate Mother's Day, you know, don't just let it be on Sunday, man. Don't do that. Just, you know, if you're going to do all that stuff and you're taking the wifey to brunch or your mom's to brunch and you're buying her this and buying her that, don't just do it tomorrow, man, because there's people who, you know, in between, you know, this Mother's Day and next Mother's Day is going to lose their moms, you know. Like my old lady, You know, she lost her grandma, I want to say last year, maybe even the year before that. I don't know if it's been, it ain't been 2 years yet. Last year, man. And she's still affected by it. Like, her mom, her grandma's daughter, she don't even want to do nothing for Mother's Day because she's still kind of in that place, you know, that mourning place because her mom's gone, man. And my old lady's grandma, you know, same thing. She's not really, you know, there. So I would advise people, man, that, you know, you're going to do the thing and do it all big on Mother's Day. Don't just wait, you know, to do something like that yearly, man. It's like, you know, in the middle of July, in the middle of August, just, you know, take your mom out to brunch with flowers and all that kind of stuff. Then, if you know, if as the old folks say, the spirit moves you, that's your mom, man. You know, don't just wait for these manufactured planned days to do stuff for people, man. Treat people, you know, good every day, man. Let every day be Mother's Day for the woman who brought your black ass into this earth. That's going to do it, man. It's the One Mic with Big Mike podcast. We're going to wrap up for this week. Make sure you guys, over the weekend, man, spread the word. I do ask that you do that, and I appreciate you guys doing that, man. Spread the word about the show for the people who don't get to hear it live, because I know it's a lot going on right now. Basketball's going on, especially in my city, man. So if you didn't get a chance to hear it live, or if your people didn't get a chance to hear it live, man, let them know they can check it out on TuneIn as well as on iTunes. Most preferably for me on the website. I got to figure out some new things to do with the website, some more interactive things, man. Like I said, it's just me. One mic with Big Mike. It's just me. So I got to figure this stuff out kind of on the fly. But go to the website, the number 1, MICWITHBIGMIKE.com. Everything is there for you, all my social media stuff. The contact page will take you straight to my email if you guys want to email me. If you guys know anybody who owns a business, if you own a business and you want to partner up and sponsor a segment of the show, or you want to sponsor an hour of the show or something like that, let's do some business, man. Let's, you scratch my back, I scratch yours type of deal. Also, what else do I want to mention? That's it. That's going to do it. Also, the shows can be heard later on via YouTube as well. You can go there and hear the shows as well. So that's going to do it, man. Appreciate you guys for joining me this week, or the 2 days that I did this week. I missed Wednesday. I appreciate you guys for joining me. Have a great weekend, man, and I'll talk to you guys on Monday, and we'll hopefully the Hawks would have made it out of the weekend. I don't know when the next game is, but hopefully the Hawks would have made it out of the weekend and got themselves a win in the process. See you guys on Monday, or talk to you guys on Monday.